Coverkillernation, as you know, I'm inclined to review progressive rock whenever the time is right. Just like I am inclined to review all other styles of music whenever the time is right. If there's a lot of thrash coming out, I review a lot of thrash. Recently, I've been reviewing a lot of progressive music and a lot of progressive rock, and there is one particular man that I consider to be a hero of mine. And because of that, I have to judge his work on a little bit of a different scale and a little bit of a different way in order to remain impartial and not come off as a complete and utter fanboy idiot. This is a man whose works have inspired me to write works of my own thanks to the words, the music of his various projects. So the man I'm going to be reviewing today, you probably already know because you read the title of the video that's right above my face. Weird words above me. Steven Wilson's Grace for Drowning. The mammoth 2-disc double second album by Steven Wilson, who is of course the frontman of Porcupine Tree, and also has been in projects such as Blackfield, The Incredible Expanding Mindfuck, and No Man, just to name a few, and his influence is felt throughout the progressive rock and progressive metal genre in general. This is a disc that he broke up into two. Volume 1 being called To Form a Star, the second one being entitled Like Dust I Have Cleared from My Eye. Now the reason why he did this was because of time constraints. This was going to be an album that was going to be far too long, and then one of the big reasons for that is for Raider 2. Raider 2 alone, off of disc volume, whatever you want to call it, number 2, is 23 minutes in length, and there are other tracks that are going to eclipse the 9-minute mark, but that is the big mammoth. That is the centerpiece of disc number 2, Like Dust I Have Cleared from My Eyes, and it is just a fantastic work. This whole entire album is filled with a lot of music that Steven Wilson himself is going to be constructing and did construct in a very, very personal way. At a time that could have been a little bit more stressful or filled with a little bit more strife than usual considering earlier on this year. Steven Wilson unfortunately lost his father, Michael George Wilson. So this was going to have a large air of personality to it. In fact, he is mentioned in the liner notes. The one thing that I'm going to say is that this is music that is not going to be for everybody. This is highlighted by the 1960s, the late 1960s and 1970s, where instead of going for the 3-minute long radio format style, bands started to incorporate a lot of jazz, a lot of free-form elements in their music, creating magnum opuses, very, very lengthy affairs that may not necessarily have been chock full of virtuosity throughout the whole entire song, but instead built a very, very nice mood, a tremendous atmosphere, and something in which somebody could relax to while at the same time feeling very awe-stricken, inspired, and having their jaw drop on the floor in a much different way, where instead of it being like, oh my god, you're kind of laying back just thinking to yourself, wow. This album is chock full of those wow moments. From the moments that remind you a little bit more of Porcupine Tree, to the ones that really shine forth in Steven Wilson's individualistic bliss. To Form a Star, off of disc number 1, could arguably be considered the song of the year. This is one of the most beautiful works that I've ever heard Steven Wilson pen in any of his projects. The personality is etched throughout it. The very, very personal nature is laced within. And that's something that this work encapsulates as a whole, but really shows its colors the greatest and with the best hue or pigmentation in this particular track. This is the Mona Lisa of Steven Wilson's career. This is the masterpiece, because this is a fantastic track that really bends personality along with beautiful music. This is an album that also has some guests. Tony Levin, formerly of King Crimson, as well as, or should I say currently also of King Crimson, what am I talking about? As well as Jordan Ruddess from Dream Theater, playing keyboard. And this is also the first album that's going to be spurning Steven Wilson to take his solo act on the road. This will become the first tour that Steven Wilson will embark on. This is something that he's wanted to do. He's not going to have Jordan Ruddess and Tony Levin, obviously, because they have other responsibilities to do with their individualistic bands. However, they will be doing both Europe and also North America. This release could quite possibly be one of the pinnacle releases of 2011. This is one that not a lot of people are going to really have a lot of respect for, because for metalheads, this is something that's a little too soft, a little too tame, a little too jazzy. This is almost like what hardcore I Need Michael's death growls were saying about Opeth's heritage, where it was devoid, it was absent of death growls. This is an album that will be respected and beloved by prog rock junkies and true music fans that have a true and dear respect for what music is all about, the expressionism in which it's able to reflect, and the moods in which it is able to create. This is an album that's chock full of that. It doesn't necessarily always have to be 100 beats per minute. It is chock full of romantic ambience, and it is also chock full of beautiful noise that can be respected by all. Conventional music fans, conventional metal heads that need that hard edge will find this album boring, but I tell you, I implore you, if you search deep within your soul whenever you listen to this album, if you completely go into this album knowing that that's not what it's going to be, with an open mind and a willing soul and a respectful heart, this album will perform its magic on you, put a spell on you, and transfix you, glue you, for a wild 2-disc ride that you will never forget. Look for this album later this year. This is a mammoth release that will not get the praise and attention it deserves by a vast audience, but by those who listen, those who respect, and those who really just devour this music. It will be beloved and cherished, not just now here in 2011, but for a very long time.